as I said on the show yesterday, we're talking about not just a failure at one point in time when we look at what happened on I-5 in Seattle over the weekend, which, by the way, was right at the exit to the most important trauma center in the state of Washington. I mean, we saw in the backup ambulances that were sitting there that were rendered out of service because they could not get through the backup. So the seriousness of this can't be understated. Not to mention that those people have no right in the world to stop the traveling public, to dictate to every single person sitting in those cars that whatever they're doing is not important as the issue that those pro-Palestine, pro-Hamas demonstrators are there to rally in support of. And when I say that this didn't happen in just a point of time, this has been a gradual free pass that these sorts of activists have been given for a long time. And I detailed on the show yesterday how it's like if you give a mouse a cookie, you let them shut down a Christmas tree lighting, they're emboldened. You let them shut down a bridge, they're emboldened. You let them take over 6 square blocks of a city, they're emboldened. Why would they not believe that they can take over an interstate? So when I say that the Washington State Patrol, if they truly did their best is not good enough. Here is what Chief Batiste told Como News. Our folks did the best they could with the tools, resources, and personnel they had available and used the time needed to resolve the situation peacefully. Look, I'm supportive of law enforcement. I don't know everything that was taking place behind the scenes. What I do know is we've had a political class and one-party rule in the state of Washington that has emboldened activists to this point, where law enforcement is even faced with a situation where you've got hundreds of protesters blocking the interstate who are there because they believe, rightfully so, that they won't get in trouble. It is that political environment that voters have allowed, that politicians have fostered. It is that environment that put your troopers, Chief, in that situation in the first place, to be stuck in a no-win. There's no win for them. They go in, they effect arrests, well, then they're vilified. Lump that on to all the other reasons they're vilified. They don't do anything, then they're deemed incompetent. And I'll tell you, Chief, that although I don't know the conversations that happened between you and the governor or you and any other politician, if there were any, which I'm hoping that there were, what I do know is that you should be saying something about the political environment that allows for this. To say, our folks did the best they could with the tools, resources, and personnel. They don't have the tools they need because, as I said on the show yesterday, they've been absolutely neutered when it comes to dealing with activists. They don't have the resources that they need. There are far few troopers. There are far few police officers in this state if they call on other agencies for help. You think Seattle police have the number of officers they need to break away from what they're doing, 700 officers down, and send reinforcements that your troopers need to the level that they need? Of course not. Neither do any of the other surrounding agencies, because Washington State has the lowest number of police officers per capita of any state in the nation because of the political environment. So they didn't have the tools they needed. They didn't have the resources they needed. They didn't have the personnel they needed. And it all boils down to the political environment and what has been tolerated. And as the chief of the Washington State Patrol, someone who has been in that position for a very long time, who, again, I'm not going to make assumptions, but I don't think will be in that position much longer when a new governor comes on board and is going to want to appoint someone of their own, you really don't have anything to lose by speaking the truth. And by standing up for the men and women of your agency and for the men and women of other police departments in this state, by just saying what needs to be said. Politicians have allowed this environment. Politicians have emboldened activists to believe that they can do this and get away with it because we've allowed them. And to not say that does a disservice to the law enforcement officers who are out there who were put in a very difficult position. And the more people who stay silent and who won't point out the obvious here, that this is, we've given mice cookies for far too long, you just allow it to continue. Because someone like me can say it, right? But do you think Jay Inslee and Bob Ferguson care what I have to say? No, they look at what I have to say and they're like, oh, she just doesn't like us. She just doesn't think we're good public servants. But if you've got rational Democrats, law enforcement officers, the governor's own chief of the patrol, who's saying, look, we have to take a harder line. Governor, you need to say something. You know, call the governor in Houston. Hey, I know you're about to enjoy the football game, but we've got a serious situation on I-5. You need to come out and say something, please. Do it for the men and women of the state patrol. Do it for the men and women of the Seattle Police Department. Do it for the traveling public. Do it for the people who might be having medical emergencies who can't get to Harborview Medical Center. There is power in your position, and I hate to see it used this way, in a statement that, in my estimation, beats around the bush.